Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the July 10th weekly wrap up. I'm your District 4 Commissioner and Presiding Officer, Shakira Johnson. So let's get into it. This one will probably be a little shorter than a couple of the past ones. So this week we had kind of two big votes at the BOC. On this past Tuesday, we actually introduced and passed a resolution, and that agenda item 2026-1109. That is a resolution that extends the moratorium on data centers to March 30th, 2027. So there was already a moratorium in place until September 30th, 2026. But with the vote to deny the text amendment that was before us, we knew there was still work that needed to be done that would go beyond the end of September. So Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson and Commissioner Robert Patrick, introduced this resolution to extend the moratorium until March 30th, 2027. But it also calls for the CEO and administration to compel all departments that would have a say or have some work in dealing with any applications that may come for a data center to put forward and make it clear what their procedures are. Who would be regulating what are the guidelines, say for watershed. If a data center comes in, what would they have to adhere to, or fire, if an application comes in, what would fire be looking at? What would fire's requirements be? And that is something that came out of a lot of the comments that we did hear from the citizens. Yes, we need regulations in the text amendment, but that zoning text amendment only deals with the land use, and it couldn't comprehensively give everyone comfort of understanding what all the regulations would be that would deal with a data center. And so that is actually something that I also brought up at the June 23rd vote. I think that's the day we denied it. Was that on top of this text amendment, I was requesting administration to provide and publish an SOP, standard operating procedures, so that people would know when a data center application comes in, every department, how they're dealing with it, what's to be expected. It also helps the residents. It would help potential developers know exactly all the regulations, all the rules, all the requirements that they would be facing. So in writing this resolution, I've really felt like Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson, Commissioner Robert Patrick kind of also was listening to not only the constituents, but listening to their fellow commissioners and try to encompass that in this resolution. That resolution, again, passed with a vote of 6-1, 6 in favor, 1 against. I do want to clear up that it was not a walk-on item. There's a fellow commissioner who says that we walked that on and voted on it without vetting it, and I want to clear that up. They wrote that resolution, they sent it directly to legal, it came out of legal, and it was added to the agenda properly. We didn't have a committee of the whole, so as presiding officer, I set the agenda when there's no committee of the whole, and that item was added properly and was not walked on. So just want to make sure that we're all clear, that we're all reading the facts in the situation and not just going by emotion. And data centers are divisive and political right now, but I'm focused on trying to make sure that if we ever were to get a data center, that the regulations are clear and they're based in facts and they're based in reality and what we would really need if we ever get one, to make sure that what comes is something that would be acceptable to the community. Or, if one comes and we vote it down, then we have the regulations to stand by to tell them why we're voting down and don't want that data center in our community. So it's important to have the regulations in place no matter what. Regulations and a definition of a data center is crucial to moving forward in these conversations. And I will add that this resolution actually did define what a data center is. So with passing this resolution, we also created a definition for a data center in the codes for DeKalb County. So that was really, really big. And then the other major items that we passed this week, we had our final public hearing on the millage rate, and that did get approved. I believe it was 5 yes, 1 abstention, and 1 no, but a majority of us did approve the budget, a budget and millage rate. So we increased the millage rate by ½ mil. And our budget team did a really good job. So not only did they just immediately start raising the millage rate, they also made reductions in areas where they could, identify savings in areas where they could, so that the increase that we did have to pass could be as minimal as possible, but also have a really strong impact on the community. So with this millage rate and this new budget, amendment that we approved, we also approved increases to the stormwater fee and increases to the solid waste fees. Solid waste is what we call an enterprise fund, so it has to, the money that comes in and that you pay for your solid waste fee should pay for the service, so it has to pay for itself. And the general fund had been subsidizing the solid waste fund for many, many years, and it was becoming to the point where we had to act. Unfortunately, it was time to increase the solid waste fee, and it had been, I think, maybe 10 years or so since we had increased the solid waste fee. So we did increase that, and then we increased the stormwater fee. It's about an extra 10%. The stormwater fee will help us make sure that our stormwater infrastructure, I think I talked about this before, is being maintained. It's the next big infrastructure item that we really need to be focusing on. And I'm really proud that we are starting to focus on it before it becomes a complete failure. Our stormwater systems across the country are in disrepair because we collectively, communities have not been investing in them as we should. So I'm really proud of us for making that investment. But we're also, this budget amendment also funds increasing the minimum wage for our county employees to $19 per hour. It makes sure we are employing and paying for the additional police that we've hired. We've been able to hire, I think, additional 90 plus officers in the last year, really trying to close that gap on the shortage of officers that we have. Increases in our EMS services. We're providing more services for our unhoused with the opening of the day shelter on the south, and we recently approved a day shelter that will be going in the north, so that will be hopefully open by November. But we're also putting a lot of investment, $12 million, into a housing program to increase our housing stock, whether that's affordable workforce housing, but also funding programs for first-time home buyers, for long-time residents who've been in their home for more than 10 years and are in need of some help to keep repairs going and so that they can stay in their home. So we're funding programs like that. So a really robust and consequential budget and millage rate increase that is minimal as we could get the millage rate. It really has a lot of bang for the buck, and will do a lot of good in our communities, but also making sure that we maintain our normal services, our day-to-day services, making sure your trash is getting picked up, your potholes are getting filled, roads are getting repaved, fires responding, all the things that we expect when of services in DeKalb County. Our parks are getting improved. So all of that is still happening on top of these increase in services at a minimal increase. I know no one really ever wants an increase because cost of living is going up everywhere, but also the cost of providing the services have gone up. And it has been, I believe it was 11 years since we raised this millage rate. So unfortunately, we had to raise the millage rate to be able to provide the services that we've heard from our constituents and residents that they wanted. So we have one more meeting, another Board of Commissioners voting meeting this coming Tuesday, July 13th. And then after that, we are taking a recess. So we will not meet again until August 11th. So I just want to make sure that's on everybody's radar. We are actually taking a break, which is why we've been pushing really hard the last month. We've had a lot of special call committee meetings. We've had back-to-back voting meetings, which is why we didn't have a committee of the whole, so that we can get the work done that would allow us to take some time off. So I personally am really looking forward to taking a break. I'm going back to my high school reunion and spending some time with some friends and just taking some time to relax. So again, reminder, we'll have one more meeting next Tuesday, and then we will not meet again until August 11th as we are on recess. Looking forward to talking to you guys next week. I hope everybody has a great weekend. Thank you, everyone.